Welcome back. We now want to wrap up this edition of Cheche, where we're discussing issues to do with education reforms with Robert Masese, the Acting Director General, Basic Education at the Ministry of Education, and also Dr. Andrew Cheche, Policy Analyst and Senior Lecturer in Economics of Education, Department of Educational Administration at the University of Nairobi. Gentlemen, we've discussed quite a lot. There's some that we may not be able to discuss today, but probably could respond to some of those issues raised by our viewers. Remuneration for ECD tutors was one of them. Bwana Robert Masese.
Yeah, I may not be the competent person to comment about the remuneration of teachers, because that is a sphere for the Teacher Service Commission. But you're aware that the Constitution is clear that ECD is the mandate within the mandate of the county governments. Although we are again aware that it's only the Teacher Service Commission that has the powers by law to approve whoever can stand in front of a class and pretend or be a teacher of any child in this country. So we need to marry all those things. The other thing I looked at, which was coming out here, is somebody talking about the need for us to prioritize acquisition of skills amongst learners than just packing them with content, and that the knowledge today that our children get is more towards content than learner. And we are saying we are addressing that by embracing the new reforms in the sector. That is the curriculum-based, the competence-based curriculum that we are putting into place, that will have more emphasis on skills acquisition and application of knowledge acquired than just collecting facts and assuming that's quality education. I think those are the ones that I picked. As for the quality of teaching that is going to be in places, you are aware that Teacher Service Commission has embarked on a massive delocalization of school heads, so that we can bring about accountability. So that you are not working in your village where nobody can ask you a question. You should move away further from your locality and be held to account on the learning outcomes of learners in the school you manage. Okay. And then there is the appraisal of teachers and so forth.
Okay. And as we come to the end of our show, there's this issue where we've seen Cheche, which is the Head Teachers Association, as well as NUT, opposing some of the things that have been going on. There was a headline yesterday in the dailies with regard to the new curriculum, where primary school head teachers who are currently having the annual conference in Mombasa came out to say they need to be consulted. We're probably rushing too fast into implementing the new curriculum. Now we're seeing even some of these things on dissolving boards of schools, merging some of the schools to have one head teacher. That NUT is also opposed to that. The Cheche, it's also the School Heads Association, is also opposed to this. Now, are we likely to see this going on? These are very serious stakeholders in education. These are teachers, head teachers. These are some of the challenges we get to experience. Are we saying that the leadership style of probably CS Matiang'i is not as consultative as it should be, that some of these people still feel left out? And if so, how can they be incorporated into ensuring that all these reforms actually go along?
Well, Fred, I think what the CS has said, and I have already mentioned or proposed to, in this meeting, that the ministry should take time to merge those boards of management of primary and secondary school institutions, so that they collect adequate information and perhaps even consult relevant stakeholders, so that there's a buy-in, as Charles was putting it, right? So I don't think it's going to be against the tide, but let's see how those consultations are done, and to ensure that it's progressively implemented. But I think I see a challenge in the tutors, in responding to one of those tweets. The challenge I see is the quality of those ECD teachers. Now, we have several colleges, private colleges, for training those teachers. And some of them, Bwana Mutegi, do not have even facilities, and they have been licensed. They operate during school holidays, and that's when they train teachers. Quality. I don't know what the ministry, of course, the Ministry of Education has the overall policy implementation responsibility and oversight over the education sector, much as the ECD is supposed to be managed by the county government. So I think something needs to be done, not only salaries, but checking the quality of the training that is going on.
Yes.
Then on issue, as the DG has said, that we are going competence-based is a necessary effort, a brilliant idea of moving away from academic system of education, where children are coming through schools with certificates and grades, but they don't have skills, knowledge, and appropriate attitudes. However, I think the ministry, and now I'm talking as a member of the National Steering Committee for Curriculum Reforms, and more specifically as a member of the technical committee of that steering committee. So I may not want to say anything on behalf of the steering committee, but generally the Ministry of Education and KICD, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is moving. There are about 9 stages of curriculum reform. What is lacking, Director, is adequate advocacy, that Kenyans need to know what's happening, and so that they don't have to be in the dark. So what is happening is things are happening, and I believe at an appropriate time it will be clear how the rollout is going to happen.
Okay.
Because if we make a mistake, and I've said that in our meetings, if we make a mistake of not following due diligence in implementing the competence-based curriculum, we'll be faced with the same problem of a good 844 system, which had good ideals, but was hurriedly and was not even piloted. This one has been piloted.
Let's give Bwana DJ a chance to give final remarks, because our time is also almost up. In terms of including and ensuring that all stakeholders feel included and do not start complaining about lack of consultation, as well as you can respond to some of the issues raised by Dr. Cheche as we finalize the show.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I think without sounding like I'm defensive of the ministry, I don't want to imagine that anybody is saying that we are not consultative in our works. Cheche, a member of the technical committee or the steering committee of curriculum reform, can let you know that some of the members are the unions, teacher unions.
They are key members.
They are key members of the steering committee. So when somebody comes around and
Sean has repeatedly says he has not been consulted.
Maybe what we have to do.
No, I think that's politics.
Politics.
In my view.
So look at the exam that we have just finished. Who was involved in the reforms, in the management, in the administration of those examinations? It was multi-sectoral. It was even other ministries. It was the Cheche. It was everybody else was involved. So we can't be blamed for not being inclusive and consultative in our works. Look at the policy pronouncement that the minister made during the release of the Form 1 selection on Monday. He gave a policy direction on what is going to be. And people are not going to wake up one morning and find that there's a new board in school. We have already started the mechanics of implementing that policy. It's not going to be something to be pushed down anybody's throat. It is something we have already invited the leaderships of those schools, and we are going to see how that policy direction is going to be implemented so that it works for all of us. So we are consultative and we are inclusive in all these things that we're talking about.
Okay, thank you so much, Bwana Robert Masese and Dr. Andrew Cheche. I'd like to give Charles and Mutegi one final chance to say something brief because our time is up. Let's start with you, Mutegi.
Well, I think when changes are introduced all over, there are bound to be resistance. So when you hear that Kenya National University teachers and the secondary primary school head teachers opposing in their conference, Mombasa, we should expect it. We don't. We should expect this normal thing to happen. So the best thing to do is let them buy in, bring them to book. If they resist, you remove them.
Okay. In fact, Chairman, yes. if people didn't have counter views about the reforms we are doing, we would wonder whether we are really doing anything.
You really raised the issue of advocacy and communication in terms of ensuring that this
precisely, and then these disagreements form part and parcel of the advocacy levels. Because when somebody raises a concern, then it's upon the policy implementers to come out and expound. And I think I will go back and say, the ministry and the government is doing the right thing for the education of this country. They have very brilliant ideas. All they have to do is give the buy-in effect and make sure parents or the public have a role in the education of their children. The moment you make them feel they are off the hook, you lose it completely, because they will think it's free, and cheap is very expensive.
Thank you so much, Charles.
At the risk of coming back when you have wound up this thing.
Seconds.
Yes. In fact, as a ministry, we would hate to have a situation where everybody concurs with whatever we bring. When we are criticized for whatever proposals, for whatever initiatives we bring, we get enriched because they give us the perspectives which we help to build in to even improve our idea.
So let all the criticism come. The government says, yes, bring it on.
Bring it on. And let's hear your bright ideas.
Okay, thank you so much, Robert Masese, the Acting Director General Basic Education at the Ministry of Education, Dr. Andrew Cheche, Policy Analyst, Senior Lecturer in Economics of Education, Department of Educational Administration and Planning, College of Education and External Studies at the University of Nairobi. Quite a mouthful, but helping us understand what's happening in as far as education reforms in Kenya are concerned. Thank you so much also our regular panelists for Cheche, Mutegi Njao and Charles Odhiambo for your very well considered opinions. That has been Cheche, the show where opinion counts, today discussing education reforms. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Let's do this again next Wednesday. Good morning.